Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and as promised, we are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual disclaimers. If you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Excuse me one moment. And especially take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit. They did not remove it from the website. Well, folks, NeuroClastic refused, so you know the drill. Please read the article. Share on all your social media. Also included is NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC actually happened to see through with their threat. Excuse me. OCD is OCDing. One of the side effects of the new drug is now that I'm back to my version of normal, my hyper awareness and OCD has come out. So I had something there at my teeth and it was driving me slowly insane, so I apologize for that, alright? Trigger warning 1, when we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please make sure to utilize the headphones. Trigger warning 2, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and do speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very much advised, alright? God, it's gonna make me nuts. Definitely gonna have to brush my teeth again after this. Yes, I know. TMI, tough. Effective date and compliance dates. This rule is effective 30 days after its date of publication in the Federal Register. We are establishing 2 compliance dates. For devices in use on specific individuals as of the date of publication and subject to a physician-directed transition plan, compliance is required 180 days after the date of the publication of this rule in the Federal Register. For all other devices, compliance is required 30 days after the publication in the Federal Register. Section 501 of the FD&C Act provides a device is adulterated if it is a banned device. Now, here's where the problem came in. About around this time when this was supposed to go into effect, COVID happened. When COVID happened, all of a sudden, the FDA seemed to have, lost their balls. So it was suspended during that time in regards to transitioning folks off of the device until after COVID, which gave the JRC rallying time to launch their counter lawsuit to the DC District Circuit Court of Appeals, where the ban was overturned. So in actuality, this ban was never actually able to be enforced. These kids didn't even get a temporary relief time. Okay? Now, we're going to go into the next paragraph a little bit because that wasn't necessarily a comment to get into so much as it was telling them how things should have gone. I think it is absolute BS that you're using FDA COVID as the reason why you suspended the actual enforcement of this ban. And that was another way you ended shooting yourselves in the foot, because the JRC took that rallying time and they pulled strings. And now, here we are, 4 years later, doing another FDA panel with another proposed ban. Yeah, just saying. I'm aware that federal and state moves at a snail's pace, but for the love of God. Economic analysis of impacts. We have examined the impacts of the final rule under Executive Order 12866, Executive Order 13563, and Executive Order 13771, the Regulatory Flexibility Act, and the Unfunded Mandates Reform Act of 1995. Executive Orders 12866 and 13563 direct us to assess all costs and benefits of available regulatory alternatives, and when regulation is necessary, to select regulatory approaches that maximize net benefits, including potential economic, environmental, public health and safety, and other advantages, distributive impacts, and equity. Executive Order 13771 requires that the costs associated with the significant new regulations shall, to the extent permitted by the law, be offset at the elimination of existing costs associated with at least 2 prior regulations. We believe that this final rule is not a significant regulatory action as defined by Executive Order 12866. So what this is in regards to, folks, in regards to the costs of getting these kids to alternative treatment programs, transitioning them off of the devices. It's about medical costs, pretty much. That's exactly what it's talking about here. To find out what all the costs are going to be. It's pretty straightforward, right? If you can tell, we're finally, after several months, beginning to come to the end of the final rule, and then we'll go into the new proposed ban immediately after it. I hope to God they have cleaned up some of the crap and actually named the device, so we're not wasting more trees on arguing with these people. Let's go on here. The Regulatory Flexibility Act requires us to analyze regulatory options that would minimize any significant impact of a rule on small entities. In other words, we're trying to make sure there is minimal impact on JRC money. Here's my thing. It wouldn't anyway. They are essentially a private school. They are taking $285,000 per student a head, including those they don't put on the device. I really don't think transitioning these kids off of those torture devices is going to impact their bank accounts. More's the pity. Because the final rule would only affect one entity that is not classified as small, we certified that the final rule will not have a significant economic impact on a substantial number of small entities. So they had to make sure to minimize the impact to people's wallets, to put it point blank. Nor would forking over some money in regards to getting these kids to other physicians to oversee the transition off the device. Because again, this is a private residential program. Because of those reasons, these folks are making money hand over hand off of our pain and suffering. I think they're gonna be alright money-wise, unless finally, we can actually get someone to take what's happening here seriously and get the federal investigation done that should have been done over 20 goddamn years ago. I don't care how it impacts their finances. I know the FDA has to, but I just wanted to bring in the reality. First off, during COVID, in which they suspended enforcement of the ban, this place got millions of dollars in COVID relief funds from the federal government. Think about that. Think about how sickening that is. That during lockdowns, these people got relief from the federal government to continue torturing disabled people. That doesn't just make your stomach drop. I wonder if you're human. Okay? But I see why they felt the need to put that in here. Okay? It does make sense. I think we've got quite a bit more to read. It looks like we're kind of getting a little bit closer to the end of this document. I'm going to go ahead and cut out, and then we'll jump into the next video for the section 202A. I know it was short and sweet, folks. I apologize about that. All right. So, oh, for crying out loud, it jumped. Hold on, people. Good Lord. We jumped all the way back to the comments. There we go. Okay. All right. Technical difficulties. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, you know the drill. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to utilize those comments. I appreciate your time this afternoon. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you all again here in a few minutes. Bye, everyone.